To begin with my third work in progress video, I would like to discuss a short animation called Let's Eat, which tells a touching story about an Asian immigrant family and their unspoken translation of love into food. This film touches the core of togetherness, which is a theme I want to explore further this week by channeling family bonds into the act of cooking and eating together. In particular, the scene which shows the table setup with different condiments and the use of chopsticks versus the scene where the same food is placed differently on a single plate resonate with me and probably other audiences from the same background about being together and sharing dishes in meal times, and how that becomes quite unfamiliar when we are immersed in Western cultures. This heartfelt work has contributed to the world of Asian culture's representation in the animation industry, celebrated our similarities as much as our differences, and encourages artists to share stories that bring diversity and backgrounds to the forefront of the animation space. Now I will present a set of objects that I've made that explore further the theme of food and culture and communicate togetherness, which can possibly be the core concept for my folio too. When thinking of being together, fire immediately comes to my mind. Fire represents togetherness in many forms. Fireplace in the house where family members gather and relax, in campfire where everyone bonds and shares stories. It generates warmth and brings people closer together. Fire is also an essential factor in cooking and is used as traditionally correct method of cooking Chung, Vietnamese sticky rice cake. With that in mind, I decided to do some animation tests with fire. I started modeling fire using sphere and metal ball to create a split. Then I used emitters to generate fire-like effect. Smoothing effect is added to create wispy fire shape. Texturing fire is fun because I wanted to create half realistic, half playful effect, so I played around with the settings to achieve a semi-transparent fire with light rim. After being satisfied with the fire, I create some wood to make it into a traditional wood fireplace. The result generates an effect that makes me believe that fire can be a very strong piece in my folio objects that represents the concept of togetherness. The warmth and light generating property of fire creates a cozy atmosphere, exhibits resonance, and communicates with the audience. Continued with my object Banh from last week, I want to combine the fire I just created with the animation that describes the next step in the process of forming the final dish, cooking the cake. Once wrapped, the cake will be put into a pot filled with water, usually set on a propane burner in the backyard or even on the streets in the cities, where it would take all night to cook. During the night, family members would take turns checking the fire to make sure it is consistently burning, or just gather around the fire to chat and enjoy each other's company. Inspired by our tradition and the importance of maintaining fire and temperature of water, I modeled the pot and create boiling water surface using turbulence and jiggle effect. I also create some bubbles using emitter and add the collision to the pot to make it more lively and realistic. Then I modeled a finished version of the cake and put it in the pot, letting it sink and float. The environment is where I also put a lot of passion in, making sure it has the correct atmosphere. Physical night sky with lights in spots that can reflect on the metal material of the pot, and especially the transparency of the clear water in the pot, which beautifully reveals and distorts the cake as it moves in the water. The result is a 6-second animation that takes 16 hours to render in Cinema 4D using my laptop, which I think is quite a good test of my machine's ability to render a heavy scene and give me the approximate estimation time to render my work, which is gonna be essential for production planning, making, and delivering in the future. Overall, I'm quite happy with the render result, and my medium preference has shifted towards animation, which has surprisingly created more emotional effect than I anticipated. The next step of my process will include testing the animated objects in Unity, which I think is very important in forming the decision whether to go with the interactive direction or animation direction. Continue with the theme of togetherness, I made a short scene as the final process after cooking the cake, which involves cutting it into pieces for sharing, and the use of chopsticks to consume the dish also represents being together. If I go with animation direction, I may need to start creating storyboards and plan the order of scenes, and at the same time consult with my mentors about the timeline and the scope of the project to make sure it is manageable. Thank you for watching.